And hello YouTube besties. I'm very sorry that I've only put out one video this month. I have no excuses. And that's about it. I have no excuses. So I'm sorry. Welcome back. Hi, hello if you're new here. I'm Steph. I talk about books. I write books. Yeah, that's about it. This is going to be my February TBR. I've actually done really well this month. I'm really proud of myself. And I've also got a massive book haul. Got an entire Primark tote bag filled with books. So we'll start with the interesting bit that everyone is more interested in, which is probably my wrap up. So let's get into it. First and foremost, we need to discuss my tabbing. Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte. Good God. After not enjoying Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte, I was really worried to go into this. But, as you can see from the tabs, I loved this book. I hated basically every character. Except Nellie. I loved Nellie. Nellie was great. And little Cathy and little Cathy's dad. Linton? Edgar Linton? Cathy's husband. I can't remember. Either way, loved them. Heathcliff and Cathy were the two worst people I've ever read about in my entire life. I've never in my life enjoyed reading about people I dislike more than I did in Wuthering Heights. It's been on my to read list for a really long time now. Just it's a classic, do you know what I mean? And Kate Bush wrote a song about it. So yeah, I wanted to kind of get this one read. I loved Charlotte Bronte's writing, so I was curious how Emily's would be in comparison. And yeah, I really loved it. I think I rated it 5 stars. So finally got it done. We're getting into classics at the minute, which is really exciting. 5 out of 5 Wuthering Heights. So I finished 2 arcs this month. First one was Staircase in the Woods by Chuck Wendig, which is out in April. This was really good. It's a horror kind of mystery kind of one. It's about this group of friends, this group of teenagers, where they all go into the woods to have a camp out and a party, and this staircase appears in the woods out of nowhere. Which is obviously not creepy and strange at all. One of them goes up and doesn't come back down. I think it's 20 years later, the rest of them all get together and the staircase is there again. So they all go up this time to try and find their friend. And it's about what happens whilst they're up there. It is so creepy. It is creepy. It is straight up scary at points. The horror element is so good. Chuck Wendig knows how to write good horror. It's really, really good. It's one of those, I enjoyed it so much, I'll probably buy it physically when it comes out, because I was really lucky to be supplied these by NetGalley. So I've got the ebook versions. But yeah, if you like creepy horror, fully recommend it. I would look up trigger warnings though, because there was a little bit of stuff in there like self-harm and violence and drug use and stuff that people should be aware of before going into it. But 5 out of 5, absolutely smashed it. The second book that I read from NetGalley was oh god, the window's open, sorry, the blinds. Red Runs the Witch's Thread by Victoria Williamson. This was another horror. It was a historical horror. It was actually based on a true story, which I found out afterwards. About a woman who accuses, as a child, this woman accuses, I think it's 7 people of witchcraft, and they all get burned and stuff like that. And it's basically about what happens when she becomes an adult, the consequences of those actions. And it was good. It was a good read. I read it in a day. But it wasn't, the horror element just wasn't there for me. It was a fine fiction, a historical fiction, but the horror elements just weren't there for me. And it was a little bit of a shame. I think I gave it like a 4 out of 5, like 3.5, 4 out of 5. So it was definitely worth reading. Like, I personally won't be buying it when it comes out, just because it wasn't for me. But if you like historical fiction, especially like based off of actual history, I fully recommend giving it a go at least. So yeah, I don't really have a lot else to say about it, to be honest. So Red Runs the Witch's Thread, 4 out of 5 stars. The first book I finished this month was actually an anthology that I got from the library last month. I started it last month, but obviously I had a lot of stuff that I was reading last month. So it took me a little bit of time, but I finished it right at the beginning of this month, and it was Here I Stand. And it, come on, there we go. Here I Stand, stories that speak for freedom. And it's by Amnesty International, so I already had like no doubt it was going to be like absolutely fantastic. I love Amnesty International. As you'll know if you watch one of my previous videos, I will link them in the little description below if you do want to find out more about the work they do. They fight for human rights, and for people who desperately need it. But the stories in this, it was a story and poetry collection, and I think there was one comic which was really cool. Literally just, it is what it says. They're stories that speak for freedom. Like, they speak for freedom on slavery level, like on LGBTQ, on domestic abuse, on trafficking. Like, it's brilliant. Like, I always find it really hard to rate these things because obviously it's different authors. Like, it's a lot of different authors collectively. So what I did, I actually went through and I rated every story that I read on its own merits, and then I kind of like looked at what the average was. So I think in the end it was about a 4 out of 5 star. If you are interested in things like human rights and stories pertaining to things like that, I would absolutely recommend reading it. I think everyone should read it personally. Like, I think stories like this are really important. So yeah. On to what would have been my favorite book of the month. Obviously, like, I'll explain in a minute, but In Memoriam by Alice Wynne. Oh my god, this book ruined my life. Like, the amount of times I sat there just like crying. Like, my fiance looked at me and just laughed. I was like, leave me alone, please. Like, so In Memoriam is a story about Gaunt and, oh my god, my brain. Gaunt and Elwood. I can't believe I forgot his name. Gaunt and Elwood. They are students at a private school in England in the like First World War. And Gaunt is of German descent, and because of that, his mother and sister kind of, you know, they've been getting some backlash about being German, about being spies and stuff like that. So they kind of beg Gaunt to join the English side of the war, which he does. And then it's about Elwood joining as well, so that he can go and kind of fight with Gaunt. And it's a queer love story. And you guys, like, it's so good. Like, it's so heartbreaking. Like, it's so beautiful. It's everything. Like, and it doesn't shy away from the horrors of World War One, because like they were terrible. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's the most atrocious war that's ever happened. It was so pointless, so needless. And it goes into really good detail about it. So that was one thing I really appreciated from Alice Wynne, was that she did focus on like the actual historical aspects. And obviously during the 19 kind of like 16 period when this is based, it was still illegal to be a homosexual. So this is a really dicey time, because obviously like they can get arrested and stuff. Like, it was past the point where you could get hung for being a homosexual, but it was still illegal. So it was a really dangerous time to like have feelings for someone of the same sex. But the story's so gorgeous, like heartbreaking, beautiful, like 5 out of 5, this would have been my favourite book of the month if another hadn't come along and usurped it. And I think we all know what it is, because it's the same thing that happened last year. So, without further ado, let's meet the month's winner. Shadow of Night by Deborah Harkness, like 12 out of 10. Like, oh, like I listened to the audiobook of this. I love the audiobooks for the All Souls trilogy, and I could not stop. I stayed up until like 2-3 a.m. for a couple of nights because I just needed to know what happened. This one is I don't want to give too much away because obviously this is the second book in a trilogy, but the cast of characters was amazing, like historical and otherwise. And I was so gripped. I was so gripped by the whole story. I didn't actually know that Deborah Harkness was a historian as well. So she knows all of this as well. Like, this is all very well researched and everything like that. So, oh my God, guys, like, if you haven't read Discovery of Witches, you have to read it. It's fantasy and it's romantic and it's paranormal and, oh, it's so good. Like, Diana and Matthew literally own me. Like, just straight up own me. Like, again, I can't go into it too much, which is really sad, because again, if you haven't read the first book, it's major spoilers, but so good. Literally read this, I think, the last week of this month, and yeah, it just completely usurped In Memoriam. Like, I haven't got the last book, The Book of Life, on a TBR yet, because I have got what I'm doing for March planned out. There will be another video for my March TBR, but The Book of Life is being moved up, and I guarantee I'll read that and it'll be my favourite of the month as well, no matter what time of the month I read it. So, favourite book of February, Shadow of Night, Deborah Harkness. I did have one DNF, which is very disappointing. I know, like, I'm trying really hard to stop DNFing books, I swear. Like, and this one is even more disappointing because this was our bi-monthly classics book club for Leah, and it was Near to the Wild Heart by Clarice Lispector. And let me tell you, like, I have been so excited to read a Clarice Lispector. Like, the way Leah talks about her, like, I needed to read something by her, and I did, and I didn't get it. I think I DNF'd it after like 20 something pages because the way she writes, it was so erratic and it was so, I don't know, like, I just couldn't do it. Like, I just couldn't do it. I didn't get it. Like, so unfortunately, I did have to DNF the Clarice Lispector. I don't know if it'll put me off reading other works by her, like the Murakami did, but we'll see. We'll see. So unfortunately, one DNF this month, which isn't too bad compared to last month, let's be honest. Okay, so now we're on to the really fun bit, which is the book haul. So if you've stuck around this long, thank you. And stay tuned because I've got some absolute bargains this month, though I did absolutely fail the book buy ban again. The first one was for me, like, just, you know, obviously they're all for me, but this one was just like a fun little one I found in the works for a hobby I have outside of books, which is cross-stitching. Like, it was £3, it was reduced, and I was like, okay, well, fine. Like, look how cute the designs are, and like, oh, it gives you all the colorings and stuff. Like, so I'm excited to start that at some point because frankly, after doing the picture I did for my fiance, it was my first like big project that I ever did. It took me a year. I'll put like a picture of it up somewhere, but like, it took me a year and I've not been able to cross stitch anything since. Like, I just don't have it in me anymore. Like, so I'm hoping that something in here, like one of them has already caught my eye, so I'm hoping that at some point I'll be able to kind of like pick up the stitches and the cloth and everything, and I'll be able to get some done. So that was a really exciting one. I loved that. Next up, we will do the charity shop books because these are banging. Okay, so these I've sort of collected like as the month's gone on. A lot of them I did collect today. I'm not gonna lie, like I went, I had to go out. My partner got his, all of his haircut. It was his first haircut in 22 years, like his first proper haircut in 22 years. And he got like oh God, it must have been like 14 inches of hair. Like it was like that. I'll put a picture again. But yeah, he got it cut off, and we're sending it away to the Little Princess Trust because he's been watching videos and he wants to use his hair to make wigs for little girls so they can feel like a princess. So so yeah, we were doing that, and on my way home I was just having like a little mosey like through the park, and I think I've got some footage of it right at the beginning, like my favorite park. And then I went and had a look at some of the charity shops, and like, all the bargains I found. So I think I bought like 6 books today. It was ridiculous. Like, so enough rambling and let's get started. My 2 favourite finds of this month have been my Anne Rice books, because these are so hard to find. Like, when I bought the Vampire Lestat, I had to buy it from a second-hand website, and it is battered. Do you know what I mean? So, like, trying to actually find these books is so hard. So I was so thrilled. I found Servant of Bones and The Feast of All Saints, and these are 2 standalone novels by her. They're still vampires, and obviously, like, but yeah, no, a pound for literally 2 Anne Rice books. Do you know what I mean? Like, absolute bargain. And then the Vampire Armand, which is part of the Vampire Chronicles. I've only got I've Interviewed a Vampire, I've got the Vampire Lestat now, and I think I've got a couple of others, but I'm trying to very slowly kind of collect these as I can. I don't mind paying full price for them, it's just so hard to actually find them. So finding 2 Anne Rice novels, technically 3 Anne Rice novels, in charity shops, £2 I paid for these books, bargain. Next up, this is another really good one. I paid like £1 for this as well. It was £1 or £1.50. The biography of Oscar Wilde, my favourite deviant. And like, look how thick the bitch is. Like, but yeah, like, it's so gorgeous inside. Like, it's just, yeah, like £1.50. Do you know what I mean? And obviously, as a writer and a book enthusiast, I love Oscar Wilde. He's a deviant. We love him. You know, like, that's, what else do you need to say about Oscar Wilde? The rest of these I did buy today. I got really lucky. Like, there were some really, really good bargains today. First one, Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. I really feel like that doesn't need much explaining with, you know, everything going on in the world right now. I also got Mystery Cults in the Ancient World by Hugh Bowden. He is not someone I've ever heard of before, but I love cults. And I love history. So it was just, you know, bargain. Like, we love a non-fiction. The next was Wild Blue by Stephen E. Ambrose. If you have watched my last videos, you know that I read Band of Brothers recently and I loved it. So finding this one for £1, I was like, absolutely. I don't know who the 741 Squadron were, but I'm gonna read about them because Stephen E. Ambrose wrote about them and I love him. So Wild Blue. And oh, the last 2, I was so pleased to find these. I read my first book by this author in December, I think it was, and she is automatically becoming an auto-buy for me. And that is CJ Tudor. I managed to find The Drift and The Chalk Man in a charity shop, paid £1 for each of them. I'm so excited. Like, so that was all of my charity shop bargains, and I think we can all say that I did pretty well. I did pretty good with these ones. Next, onto the Waterstones haul. I will admit, I did go too hard in Waterstones this month. I shouldn't have, but I did. And there's nothing I can do about it now. So, one of them was free. Because I've spent so much money in Waterstones. And I got a free coffee with it because I've spent so much money in Waterstones. Like, I got some bargains, but they were just full price bargains. So, anyway, I got 2 poetry books. The first one is She is Fierce, which is a compilation of, it is a powerful collection of 150 poems written by women, from suffragettes to schoolgirls, from spoken word superstars to civil rights activists, from aristocratic ladies to kitchen maids. These are the voices that deserve to be heard. If it's feminist, I'll buy it. Like, it's basically about it. Gray, who works at my local Waterstones, got very mad at me because they just put the display together, and it was all colour coordinated and beautiful, and then I took this and they had to find something else. So if you're watching this, you're probably not. Gray, I'm really sorry. Like, yeah, I'm really sorry. But yes, She is Fierce. feminist poetry. The second poetry book I got was actually a selection by Lord Tennyson, and this is because of In Memoriam. Elwood is a huge fan of poetry, he writes poetry, and Tennyson is one of his favourites, and a lot of the snippets that were used I really enjoyed. So yeah, I just wanted to just give some of like his poetry a go and see if I liked it. So and the cover was really pretty, and the more Penguin classics I can have, the actual better. So next up we have Marcus Aurelius Meditations. We were Stoicism and Marcus Aurelius and things are something I started looking into last year. I got really interested in it, and then my partner and I were actually having a conversation about Stoicism, and Marcus Aurelius came up, and then the next day I went into Waterstones and it was just there, and I was like, do you know what, let's, like, it's been translated from the Greek, and it looks just like, it looks so readable. So I'm really excited to go through that and make some notes and everything. I do have a new notebook for annotating because it was a point of contention in this house and I didn't want to get a divorce before we'd even gotten married. So my next non-fiction that I got is A Short History of the First World War by Max Hastings, and again this is very inspired by In Memoriam, just because I want to learn. Like, World War One was atrocious, do you know what I mean? I still don't fully understand why it happened. I don't think most people really understand why it happened and why we got involved, but I really want to find out more about it from a historical point of view. So got that one just to see what it's like, and I've seen a few more that I want to get as well. And the last book I got, this was my free book. This was recommended to me by my little babe Cass. Again, because we were talking about World War One and everything. And this is a book that I saw everyone talking about. The Warm Hands of Ghosts by Catherine Arden. Everyone was talking about this last year. And I wasn't that interested because I wasn't interested in World War One. I wasn't interested in war, like, stories, full stop, to be honest. So I kind of skipped this the first time around, but obviously with my newfound interest for that kind of stuff, Cass suggested that one for me. So I got it. I got it for free because of my voucher, and I also got a free coffee with it. So it was a win-win for Steph that day. It was great. I have bought a couple of ebooks, but I don't remember which ones right now, to be honest. And I don't want to look because that will depress me. So next up, these ones are technically cheating, sort of. I don't know if it's cheating, but like, they're my books, because I don't know if I've mentioned I've written books. And my lovely friend Bobby recently updated my covers for me. So these are the old covers, which I still love very much. Like, these mean a lot. These have a lot of sentimental value to me, but I didn't love them enough that I wanted to keep them. And there's a whole lot of drama with it, and getting the last one made would have been really difficult. However, Bobby made me new covers and I loved them, and I cried when I saw them. And when I got my books through, I think I cried again because they just look so good. Like, so without further ado, my books with the new covers. I love them so much. Like, we already have the cover for the last book picked out. So obviously once that's written, I don't want to talk about it right now, if I'm honest. Like, we're about halfway through the first draft. I don't want to talk about it. But as soon as that one is done, I will have the cover for the last book. And oh, I'm so excited that I'll have like matching covers. And yeah, I'm thrilled with them. Like, Bobby put in so much hard work with these. And yeah, they look exactly the way I imagine Luke and Jackson to look in my head. So yeah, I'm so excited. I don't really have a lot else to say, to be honest, other than I'm definitely feeling better. Like, last month was hard. Like, again, obviously. As I've mentioned in previous videos, I suffer with seasonal depression as well as, you know, normal depression and PTSD. So the last few months have been hard. However, we've had some really beautiful days the last few days. Like we've had spring days, which has literally like changed my entire mood. So expect to hopefully see a little bit more from me regularly now. Hopefully, I'm not going to push myself because we all know that that probably won't be the case. But I'm gonna try. Like I'm gonna try to start doing more reels and shorts and stuff like that. I'm on Instagram. I'm on TikTok. Steph Tucker Author. Everything will be linked in my link tree down below. But yeah, I'm definitely more active on there than I am on YouTube. If you wanted to follow me on Instagram and stuff. But I've got my next 2 months worth of videos kind of planned out. So the last video of the month's always going to be kind of my wrap up and my haul videos. And I've got for next month, I'm not going to tell you, it's a secret. But I've got my next 2 months of video ideas actually figured out, which is incredible because we all know I struggled with that. But yeah, like I've got the video sorted, I'm writing more, I'm reading more. I will be finishing the Wheel of Time soon. Like I tried desperately to get it finished for this video, but it didn't happen. I've got like 300 pages left. And like I tried, like I cannot tell you how desperately I tried to get it finished. But yeah, so the review for that will be next month probably. But yeah, I don't really have a lot to say. I'm sort of rambling, to be honest. Be nice to each other, be kind, punch Nazis, you know, the usual. Yeah, so yeah, I'll see you later.